This is the Amp Hour Podcast, recorded April 2nd, 2012. Episode 89, Dissimulated, Demigration, Dontopedalogy.
Welcome to the Amp Hour. I'm Dave Jones from the EEV blog.
And I'm Chris Gamble of Chris Gamble's Analog Life.
I'm Jamie Heineman. That's Adam Savage.
I would love to say that Adam and Jamie are on today's show.
We cannot say that, though. In fact, we probably can never say that.
Why not? He's sitting right here next to me. That was part of the deal. He was,
Fly to Australia
Adam was
every
going to
week.
fly out here and be on the blog and be on the show. And I'm afraid not. Tell him the truth, Chris.
Oh, we apologize. I felt guilty the whole... This is my first public April Fool's Day joke, and it seems that it worked, and I just wanted everyone to know how guilty I felt when I started getting congratulations, emails, and text messages, and tweets, and it was just...
And there were people copying Jamie and Adam on it, too.
Yeah, they were. It was...
Oops.
Yeah, it was... my wife was. I told my wife about what we had done, and she's like, "So this is something you guys might actually want someday?" And I'm like, "Yeah, it'd be cool if it ever happened." And she's like, "That's not a very good joke," which I agree with.
I totally agree. It seemed like a good idea at the time, didn't it? It wasn't like a spur of the moment thing. It's not like we put any thought into it.
No, it was. Dave's like, "Oh, I can't do the show on Monday night or Monday morning my time because I have to go and." Get these boards checked out, the microcurrent boards, and I'm like, oh, okay, well, we could just record where we are now. And then we started talking about April Fool's Day jokes, and I mentioned, we could do something like that, and Dave's like, oh, I did that before, but we recorded it anyways, and
yep.
And there was a couple people that were very enthusiastic, and so if it ever does happen, we're the guys that cried wolf, right?
But it did work, right? I think we sucked in most people with it, and is that the whole point?
Yeah, sort of.
A lot of people said, well, I don't see the punchline. And
yeah, there really isn't one.
You're totally right. Yeah, it's not funny at all, but I don't know. What is the essence of a good April Fool's? Is it the fact that you fooled everyone, or is it the fact that it's just silly in some way? Well, I think if it's too silly, then it's too obvious,
Right, but sometimes the obviousness is what is good about it, right? Like Google's 8-bit Google Maps for Nintendo.
Did you see the one from IKEA?
I did not. What was that one?
It looks like I actually published this in a newspaper. There was a product recall. They actually recalled the Allen keys in their set because they were all
brilliant.
Accidentally the left-handed Allen keys instead of the right-handed ones. And they showed a photo of the incorrect one, left-handed, and then with a big X through it. And they've got bins at their stores where you can go and return their Allen key.
Oh, that's pretty. That's a good one, right?
Yep.
I mean, because some people are going to believe that.
Yep.
But if you don't believe it, then it looks ridiculous, right? So, I'm sorry we couldn't be. Maybe next year we'll be more like that. Yeah.
Yep. Can I talk about my April Fools then?
Yeah.
Because I usually don't like to give it away, but it's not like I'm giving it away on the blog. I'm giving it away on the Amp Hour here, which is a different show.
Right, yeah.
So a lot of people,
totally different, yeah.
Yeah, my laser probes. And I thought I'd suck in a few people with that, but I don't think so. I think most people saw right through it. Bummer.
Yeah.
And it's not actually my doing. Believe it or not, that is actually X-Tech's doing.
Yeah.
Yeah. X-Tech actually did that, and I just went along with the ruse. So,
and it was a good one. I mean, I up front I thought it was good, but
it was going to be better because they actually did originally put it up on their blog site. And, they put it up there and everything, and it was going to, I was going to link to their site, and it was going to look all official and everything like that. And so, they put it up on, the 30th, and somebody who didn't have a sense of humour at X-Tech unfortunately wagged the finger and told them to take it down and spoiled all the official fun. So, what a douche.
That's too bad.
Oh, unbelievable. Anyway.
Yeah.
What can you do?
I wonder about back in the day, too, because I was reading there was an EDN article that from last year, actually, a bunch of really good pranks. But another thing that wasn't listed on there that I had never seen before, but apparently is passed around a whole lot in electronics offices, is the write-only memory.
Yeah, the write-only. That's famous.
Yeah. That's famous, right? The first time I had seen
that was doing the round. That was doing that went around like similar to the email jokes these days. That did the fax joke back in the day.
Oh yeah,
wow. Back in like the late 80s, would people would share things via fax machines, and that was a common thing which people would fax around, from company to company. Oh, I read this cool data sheet. I'll fax it to you. Like I saw this cool joke, and that's how I got. And they'd hand them out at school and everything. You would, and at companies. So I would. So everyone would have like a faxed copy of a fax copy of it, and it just got worse and worse.
Yeah, so totally blurred. Yep.
Totally blurred. So that was before the days of email. That's how these jokes used to spread. So. And that I've still got that write-only memory somewhere. I actually kept it from when I was
the Signetics
kid.
25120.
Yep.
fully encoded 9046 by N random access write-only memory.
Excellent.
It's brilliant.
Yep. I know, it's great.
And
they
this was
actually
hard to
took
do
out
back
an
in the day.
ad. They actually took out a 2-page spread in one of the magazines. Must have cost them a fortune. And That's
but
great.
companies that do that are awesome.
I know.
We should state that publicly, that if they do that, I want to work with that company.
I know.
Because it means you have a sense of humor, and it means you probably aren't super serious about your, we have to stick to our specs 100%. We won't recant on anything. Yeah, right. Come on.
That's why I'm so disappointed with X-Tech, because they were they went along with the joke, and apparently the head dude he loved it, thought it was brilliant, and yet there was some douchebag there who just we can't have that. Oh no, that's not real. That'll give us a bad reputation. What a dickhead! Give me a break. And it would have been hilarious if they actually put it out on their news channel, all the magazines picked it up. Yeah, like a real press release, and actually put it through the news services, and then all the magazines would have picked it up. And they don't check things, the magazines, I'm sure. They just regurgitate the copy, right? So that would have been hilarious if we saw it in next month's EDN or something like that. It would have been brilliant.
Yeah. Oh man.
But unfortunately, no, they didn't have the balls to do it. And I'm disappointed. I'm glad they did do it. It's awesome
you got to stick your neck out there.
I know.
Sometimes,
Yep. You got to hang your balls out there on the line sometimes.
Sometimes you do. Yep. Sometimes you have to fake getting bought by another podcast.
Yep.
Sometimes it just has to happen.
I promise we won't milk that again, because I've done that where I was bought out by another company.
Right,
that was my first April Fool's, and it's getting a bit old now. Unfortunately, it worked this time. We were too serious. We didn't make it silly enough.
Not silly enough, yeah.
Damn.
Oh, well.
What can you do? So,
well, speaking of things that did not get bought out but did go away, photonic induction is back, apparently.
Photonic induction is back, and there's like 20, 30 videos uploaded already.
Now, is it actually Andy that put these up, or is it someone else?
Well, somebody else is doing all the editing, I think. He mentioned some other guy, some other channel, some other YouTuber who's helping him out there. He did the intro. He's now got a fancy intro and stuff like that. And given the rate of, they must have had these pre-done or something, because they're
just popping out.
They're just churning them out. They're upload. I think it's been up for like a week or something, and there's already 20 or 30 videos up there. So
we'll
have
to check that out.
So he's back, which is good.
It is good.
But I still don't understand why you wouldn't have just kept your old channel. I can understand wiping out the videos, but at least keep all your subscribers there, and then sorry guys, I've removed all my videos and I'm going to re-upload them eventually.
Yeah.
So,
well, maybe we can get him on the show sometime to talk. I mean, if he does keep doing this stuff, maybe we can bug him into coming on sometime.
Yeah, that might be good.
Well, people that are still sticking around, though, 3 years tomorrow, is that right?
3 years tomorrow was when I released my first video blog.
I cannot believe that.
Yep.
You're like an old man in internet years.
Internet years, like dog years, right?
Yeah, exactly, right?
Yeah, I shot it and released it on the 4th of April. So there you go. And if you want, we can link into the original Oz Electronics News Group post, where I posted it.
Oh, man, going back and watch those videos, it's always... it's like going back and listening to the first amp hour. It's rough, It's like you just see the progression, and you're like, oh, that's what we used to do in the amp hour.
The quality was so shit. It really was.
Yeah, but you got to start somewhere.
Yeah,
so if people are out there like, hey, I should start a podcast, you got to start somewhere. Just get it out there. Don't worry about it. You'll laugh about it in a year from now. Yep. Don't worry about it a week from now, right?
No one's going to care. And why, don't be afraid to be embarrassed,
Exactly.
At least if you're producing content and other people aren't, then you're the winner. Doesn't matter how badly you do it, you're still a winner. Yep. You're ahead of everyone else.
And to be honest, no one's listening to it first anyway, so don't worry about it.
Right, yeah, I had like a dozen people on the news group, or I think I got like a whopping 50 views or something after the first week. And I was thrilled. I thought that was freaking awesome.
Yeah, it is awesome.
Yeah,
don't kid yourself. That's still awesome.
I know. It's
50
awesome.
people, man.
50 people liked it, and they were asking me to do a second one. It's like, okay. Yeah. Oh, boy.
3 years later, you can't stop them now, folks. So you had your chance back then.
Yep.
Too bad.
Well, I think my original post said something like, here's my video, and if there's enough people who think it's shit, then I'll do another one. Just to piss them off,
Yep.
Not if they think it's good, but if they think it's bad. Yeah.
Yep.
Oh, boy.
So we have a shout-out this week for another anniversary. Our buddy Dino is actually a year into Hack-A-Week TV.
And he did it. Well done.
He did it. I know, 52 episodes. I remember when he started doing that.
Yep.
And he had a great last... His 50-second video was a great project.
Yep. Oh, I saw that. It's brilliant.
Yeah, it's a homebrew oscilloscope with a laser pointer, so he does like X, Y vectors basically, and then he drives a little motor, and that actually displays it on the wall. Mm-hmm. I think that's how it was, or was it a mirror? Maybe it was a mirror.
He used a mirror. He used a hard drive, took open a hard drive, and then stuck a mirror on the head, and then had a secondary mirror which bounces, so it bounces it all around, and he did actually get, a sine wave and a triangle wave up on his screen.
Yeah, it was great.
Yeah. I don't know where he finds the time to do that. I assume he's got a day job, and because that's a lot of work to get that hack working. There's a lot of tweaking there. Let me tell you.
If you have any like tremors in your house, or he's got cats, I know too, and so if they jump on the table, you were starting over.
Well done. Yeah. I am envious of anyone who can do something like that on a regular basis. Like, I do my videos on a regular basis, but I don't make the commitment to do it, once a week. And he made that commitment right up front. Right, I'm going to do one hack a week, and he freaking did it. For a year. I think he said he'd do it for a year, didn't he? And then
I think he's going to keep going. He's taking a break now.
He's going to keep going, yeah. But I think that was his goal, to do it for a year, I think, was his initial. And he did it. Wow.
Yeah.
So
it is. Yeah, it's great. So congratulations, Dino. That's awesome. Another shout out I had was actually for another oscilloscope. It was kind of related. Claudio's making one, and he actually did it more in a CRT style. I think he's actually bending it with electronic fields.
Oh, right.
And so he actually, does a beam of electrons against a phosphor screen.
How did he get the phosphor screen?
I think he ripped it out of something else. But,
right, just the screen itself, because usually they're sealed in a CRT type vacuum arrangement. Right. Usually you don't just get the phosphor screen.
I'm not sure. This is a while since I watched it. Actually, It might have been one of those old. They actually used to make tubes out of them. They used to make like tube shaped ones, didn't they?
Well, the
phosphor
lights,
tubes?
the fluoro tubes can do that. That's what fluoro tubes do. They have a fluorescent coating on the inside of the tube, which makes them light up. That's how.
No, this is like an old triode. Yeah, this is an old triode tube, I think. And so I think it.
Okay, I assumed like he had like a flat plate or something, like a flat
Oh,
phosphor
no. I
plate.
think this is actually a phosphor tube.
Ah, right.
So,
okay. Got it.
yeah. But, yeah, still, it's pretty damn cool. So,
Sweet.
nice job, Claudio. Another scope.
And he's
for
from
people to check out.
amateurengineer.com.
Yeah, that's right.
Haven't seen that before.
Yeah, I hadn't either. So that's another good site for people to check out, and homebrew scopes and a couple other type of episodes and stuff like that. So
Excellent. Well done. And it's he does them episodes as well. Episode number 29, Oscilloscope Project. The heat is on. There you go. So he's got an episode based blog as well.
Dave feels threatened.
Everyone's copying me. Damn it! I started the episode number engineering videos.
Yeah, right. Right, Dave.
Yeah.
3 years out and he's a diva
That's
for no
right.
reason at all.
Oh boy. We wanted to talk about. Well, you had down here as a rant.
Yeah, it's not really a rant, I guess.
Unit of. Does anyone out there, pop quiz, boys and girls, do you know what the reciprocal inductance, the unit of reciprocal, can't say that word, reciprocal inductance is?
Maybe we should make that our giveaway for the week. What do you think? We can talk about it next week then?
Oh, we could. People will just look it up.
Yeah, I know, that's true.
It's too easy. What's the point? I'm telling
That's
you, the
true. Good
contest
point.
isn't a good idea. Anyway,
Yeah.
we'll get into that later, shall
We'll
we?
get into that.
Yeah, probably at the end of the show. So we do
Yeah.
have a giveaway at the end of the show, folks, so you've got to stick around.
Yeah, stick around, everyone, right after this break.
And people have just hit fast forward now to the last 5 minutes. We just say garbage now.
Yeah, right?
All right.
All right, so what is this reciprocal inductance measure here, Dave?
I'm not even going to try and pronounce it.
All right, I'll try it. Urna.
Urna. That's about as close as you're going to get.
Yeah.
The urna.
Yeah.
And,
You know, I don't know who the hell came up with this stuff. It's the same thing with Moe's.
yeah,
Like,
Moe's.
Really,
yeah.
guys? You couldn't come up with anything? You ran out of people? Is that what happened here?
No, I think it's great. It's a real obvious thing to do because it's Henry spelt backwards.
Right.
And that makes total sense, just like Mo is Ohms
Right.
spelt backwards. And it's just,
Yeah,
total
but
sense.
they look ridiculous. They're these... Yeah, they look ridiculous.
And then there's the Darif, which is Farad backwards.
Oh, I haven't seen that one.
Darif. However you pronounce it. Yeah, it's Farad. It is reciprocal capacitance. And then there's reciprocal resistance, which is the Mo.
Now, shouldn't they actually be using the letters upside down? So it's actually this. It looks like
Right.
Coptic type lettering, you know, like
Right,
like
yeah.
how Russian is written. Like,
Anyway, I think it's
Yeah.
brilliant. It's very similar to how astrophysicists name things. They name things very plainly and very simply, you know?
like what? You like
What is the start
M4?
of the entire universe? Well, it's the Big Bang, you know? And
Yeah, but that was-
what is a
that was-
giant
that
star?
came up with
It's
a
a
priest
red
came up with
giant,
that,
you
Dave.
know? It's a... Sorry?
You know, a priest came up with the Big Bang Theory. He came up with it as a joke.
But that's what. There's some excellent video of our a guy we like, Tyson, Neil deGrasse
deGrasse,
Tyson. He
yeah.
talks about that all the time. How everything in astrophysics and astronomy is there are no unusual names at all. They name it as they see it. You know. The dark side of the moon is the dark side of the moon. You know, the rings of Jupiter don't have a scientific name. They're rings. They're ring systems. You know, there is no, unlike say,
biology.
you know, biology and chemistry and
Yeah.
all that sort of stuff. Everything has this weird, bizarre name. And
Maybe it's because
you know?
biology and chemistry were so much earlier. Well, I guess they weren't that much earlier, but maybe people are like, "Oh, let's not be like biology. Let's not be like chemistry." There.
Or as Sheldon calls them, the rock people. He calls geologists the rock people. You know, they have
right.
weird names for everything. You know, all these different rock strata levels and things. They'll have bizarre, weird-ass names. I think I'd rather be an astrophysicist.
Latin and Greek based. Yeah.
You know? Even though it's harder, at least you don't have to remember the ridiculous names.
No, you just have to remember ridiculous formulas and Greek
Right.
letters.
Yeah. It's
same thing in
plants,
electrical
you know,
engineering.
botany and stuff like that. Who can remember all these stupid plant names, right?
Botanists can apparently.
Well, yeah, yeah, but then they had to come up with simpler names so that they could, you know, so that Joe Public could call them by their simple names. Oh, it's a rose, but,
But by any other name, right?
By any other name, yeah. It's a... anyway, so I kind of like this. This is in a similar sort of style. What are we going to call the reciprocal inductance? I know. We'll just spell it Henry backwards. Great.
Yeah.
That's thinking. I like it. Thumbs up.
All right. Well, what else should we talk about this week? Because what else do we have on here? That's been a lot of stuff, huh?
Well, there's tons of... You put most of it on here, as usual.
I did.
So,
Well, since the Yurna, it was not a rant. Here's a mini rant. People know I'm not the biggest fan of when engineers go into the financial industry, right?
Yeah.
But I saw an interesting talk the other day. It was actually at Stanford, and a bunch of guys from, I think it was J.P. Morgan were there.
No,
and so it's just I know, right? And so that's what I thought at first too. And then I'm like, oh, this is going to be about, supercomputers used for high frequency trading. And it turns out it actually wasn't about that. So I got all worked up, and then I actually watched the video. And so they use it for just at any time taking a snapshot of what holdings a financial company has. And so at the end of it, I was like, okay, this actually wasn't that bad, because they talk about 28 minutes in of this video. It's like an hour and 15 minutes long. About 28 minutes in, they actually start talking about the computer architecture of these huge computers they're building. And it's just massively parallel. And the reason being that, if you're doing math operations, if you're actually chunking through a CPU and you have to do multiple cycles on the same calculation, well, you can do... If you set up the logic right and you have custom logic, you can do that in custom logic in one cycle versus 100 cycles in a CPU, even if it's a super cooled Xenon, whatever the hell they're calling it these days, right?
That's where these C to hardware compilers come in. You can actually write these algorithms in C, right? You just get your smart programmers to write them in C, and then these C to hardware compilers can convert it to FPGA Fabric, which does that particular algorithm calculation in parallel hardware. Right? And that's and the speed up is
really
massive.
Cool.
When you've got a very niche thing like that, you want to do one thing, you wouldn't actually probably wouldn't go and program that in VHDL or something like that, or Verilog. You'd actually most likely use a C to hardware compiler, I think.
I don't think these guys were, but I think because they were making such custom hardware, the C to hardware thing is really cool. I really like that solution too. Yep. I think it's really cool. But I think it's the same thing as it's like comparable to C versus assembly.
Assembly's, if you want
really
the absolute optimum,
Right, exactly. So it's the same. I think it's the same kind of thing.
Yep.
So I think these guys are actually doing it with Verilog, but. And one of the interesting things they were talking about, though, is not that they're not doing this just for speed, but it's actually power that they're eventually coming down to, because they have these huge FPGA-based systems. And I'm not a big computer architecture guy. I just like FPGAs. But they have these huge systems that they're building and putting into server racks and big server farms, right?
Yep. And
it actually comes down to power. That's the crazy thing, right? So you wouldn't think... I wouldn't have thought that's what it was. I thought it would be cost or time or something like that. But it almost always comes down to power, because that's what limits your physical, how much you can pack into one area, which I guess then does affect cost.
Oh, well, just the cooling systems alone, to try and keep the bastards cool. These huge racks of gear, cool. And then it comes in, and then you get mean time before failure stuff. Things like that, or your life of your system, if you're running it extremely hot, is dubious, and these things have to be highly reliable, and they have to,
Yeah,
so
that's true.
You want to run them as cool as possible. There's huge advantages.
Yeah. Another interesting part about the talk, he was kind of comparing, and so this is there's hardware guys there, and that was kind of surprising to me too. I always thought it was you hire a double E, and oh well, they know how to code, right? I mean, let's just throw them in there and throw $150,000 at them, and they'll of course know what they're doing. And actually, that's not necessarily what these guys are doing. They're actually building computers, and they're building architectures rather on FPGAs with coprocessors and alongside it. So actually, kind of cool stuff there. But he was talking about the quants, the software guys that are there, and they all are C++ and Java and Python and really high-level abstracted languages. And he said that kills making parallel systems, because anytime you have these, these huge data structures, right, and you try and reuse them for everything, and everything's a double. Well, it kills your parallelism, and it also kills your bit count, because if everything's a double and then you start multiplying stuff together, then you start getting enormous bit counts when you definitely need to.
Yep.
So yeah, it turned out to be a really interesting talk, which I should have figured because it was Stanford, and
Right. Okay.
they are smart people there.
You think?
Yeah. And so then the bit stuff matters though too, because if you have, say you have like tons and tons of bits to get multiplied together, okay, maybe you don't need all that accuracy all the time, but sometimes you do, because then at the end they might have some very small number, 5 times 10 to the minus 10, right?
Yeah.
But then you're multiplying that by $1 billion if it's an interest rate or whatever it is, and that can really matter, right? So.
There's lots of little things you can do, like a very common in taking it right back to like a little 8-bit micro or something. If you need to do, say, floating point calculation in a micro, it's very, there's a huge code penalty to actually implementing floating point library, right? It's, you're going to blow 4K of your memory or something just to put floating point in there or something. Maybe
right,
not
a lot
that
of chips
high.
have floating point units built in just to take that, offload that functionality.
Well, the
basically.
little 8-bit ones don't. That's what I'm talking about.
Right, exactly.
And so there's, a trick you can do is very common is to then, well, instead of, if you're reading a sensor voltage and you need to, store it as, 1.01 volts or something like that, well, you don't do it as a floating point volts. You do it as an integer millivolts or microvolts or something like that. And so you do it as a long integer, and you don't need
store the
floating point.
unit.
Bang, it's gone, and you instantly got much faster processing. You don't waste space with the library, and there's all that optimization stuff. So imagine, if they did, you could do a similar thing here. You may not use a floating point,
right.
for
and
example.
it saves you bits, save you time, save you power. Yeah,
and it's more accurate,
that's what
too.
he's talking about.
Sometimes, because there's lots of little when you're talking about that least significant bit rounding and all that sort of stuff in floating point, that can be tricky business, especially when you're dealing with money, and
right.
Can be
and
a
then
real
what you
problem.
do is you take small pennies at a time and you put them in an account. It's like take a penny, give a penny, right?
It's like Superman 4, right?
That's Superman 3, yeah.
That's three,
or
is
Office
it?
Space,
3?
right? That's what I was going for.
Yeah, right. As Mrs. EEV blog says, the worst movie ever made.
Oh no! Wait, Superman 3 or Office Space?
Yes.
Both?
No. Superman 3, she loves Office Space.
Oh, yeah, it's a pretty bad movie.
The Superman 3 was first, right? She says that is the worst. I made her sit and watch it one time. And she's hated me ever since.
Oh, that's great. I think everybody's got a movie like that where a friend or a significant other, you make them watch it, and then that's the one that keeps coming up.
Exactly.
Yeah.
She compares everything. Oh, it can't be as bad as Superman 3.
Yep, exactly. Yeah. I've got a buddy from home who still holds my feet to the fire for making him watch the remake of The Avengers, which is that 60s British show.
Oh, right, yeah.
Yeah, and it was like Sean Connery
and
Ralph Fiennes.
Yeah, that's been panned as one of the worst of all time.
Terrible. Oh,
right,
my God.
I haven't seen it, but yeah.
Yeah.
I've heard the rep.
Nope, nothing good about that movie.
So anyway, if you don't know, in Superman 3 and in Office Space as well, they actually part of the story is that they skim off, like a half a cent here, a half a cent here on each transaction, and it adds up to millions or billions of dollars or something.
Right.
Through all these transactions.
So it's stealing.
Yeah, it's like stealing. Well, no, they get around it by, it's only rounding, so we're not actually stealing it. We're taking
classic.
advantage of the rounding function,
Yep.
That's great. I wonder if that actually happens in real life. I'm sure that would be one of the things that they check
I'm
for,
sure.
right?
I'm sure security is a big deal for them, but I just imagine like if you had like a hacker or someone that was accessing the systems, even assuming they were accessible from on the outside. If you have custom logic like that in there, that's just going to slow anyone down, right? I mean, there's no known system there. You have to go in and try and like dive down in the system, and I don't think that kind of thing would really.
Well,
work,
actually, they do it, and they do it out in the open. It's called fees. Bank fees. They just every transaction, sting. So that's a legal way to do it.
Yeah,
bastards.
Yep.
And then they're all in cahoots, so you can't give, if you don't like it, go to another bank. Well, there is no other bank that doesn't charge fees. Bloody hell.
I don't think this is the same kind of banks you're using, Dave. This is very large investment houses that can afford to hire quants.
Where the money doesn't exist. It's all just phantom money.
Exactly. It exists on an FPGA, which is kind of creepy.
It is scary.
So my last note about this is technology, really cool. What it's being used for? Not my favorite thing in the world. I like money, but I don't like it as much as those guys do. So check it out for the technology. Try and ignore all the rest. Yeah.
What about this Raspberry Pi thing?
Oh,
no.
I
know you love talking about Raspberry Pi.
Oh, no. We're finally going to bring it up, huh?
Yeah, we'll have to bring it up. Olimex.
We've ignored it. We've ignored it for quite a while, actually.
Yeah. But you put something on here from Olimex. It's on the Backshed forum. And Olimex, they actually make, they do open source hardware kits and stuff, and cheap boards and all that sort of stuff. So they know what they're talking about when you're making cheap boards in China. And basically, they put a post on this forum. I presume the owner of Olimex, I don't know. Well, someone from Olimex says,
some representative body.
Someone from Olimex has gone in there and said,
someone just named after them.
Well, yeah, and he's saying, well, it's pretty much. It looks like he's calling bullshit almost in that they've never actually shipped any.
Right, and I've heard anecdotal responses or stories about some people getting them, but I've only seen pictures and the thing is though, like the price, it always comes down to the price, right?
Exactly.
I mean, like they're making these things. It's not impossible. It's not like these chips don't exist.
No,
it's not like
they're
shipping chips without silicon in them. It's going to come down to the price, and that part, I'm not sure. I don't want to sound like
didn't we call it out? Didn't we call it out? Many episodes ago, I called out bullshit. I don't think they can make it for the price or something.
If we did, it was before it got contentious. I mean, or before it got big. I don't remember.
Anyway,
we haven't talked about it in a while. I know that.
Yeah.
And it's an exciting platform. I was talking to a friend about it, and he said, it's at that price. It's at that who gives a crap price, right?
It's at the same price as the Arduino board, right? It's basically equivalent to an Arduino board, yet it's, many orders of magnitude more powerful. So, and basically the guy from Olimex is saying they cannot meet that price. He can't do it. And it started out being 25, or now it's 35, and apparently he's talking about, they're charging a $25 shipping and handling fee. This is RS and Farnell who stock it, apparently. I don't.
Right.
That's the first I've heard of that, but.
I didn't know about the fee, but I did know, and that's the thing. They got these partnerships with a lot of, like, Element 14's doing it, RS Components, both of them.
They're the two main suppliers, I think, who are stocking it.
And so they had the sign up recently. You could sign up to get one of the first runs, and that's already sold out.
Well, that's the problem. You see, I don't think they made it out as if they already had boards and they sold like 10,000 of them, but they haven't. Yeah. So.
But again, at $35, who's not going to just sign up for one, right?
Yeah,
be like,
exactly.
Take my money. Who cares? Yeah. Right? I mean,
unless there is a $20, $25 fee on top, like he says, then
that's true. But you know what? I've paid $80 for dev boards before. And dev boards, right?
Yeah. It's still cheap.
Right.
But but the whole point is this is so ridiculously cheap, and he reckons they're almost basically lying. It's pretty much a scam. I think he used the word scam or something, or somebody used the word scam almost. It's not a scam, but they're announcing,
it's shaky. It's shaky. How about that?
Because he's claiming that the people who run it have no experience in high volume manufacturing. And
which
he's also
not many people do, right?
Well, no, exactly. Unless you actually, that's your job, making high volume products, then, no, not many people have experience in that. And he's also claiming that Mr. Raspberry Pi, I don't know his name, works for Broadcom. Apparently, is working for Broadcom.
We don't know this stuff, right? So he's claiming this. We don't have any fact behind this stuff, so we shouldn't really say that. But
we're just talking about this guy's post. That's all we're talking about.
And
we have no idea.
It is of note is that it is a Broadcom chip. It is an NDA chip. It is a lot of that stuff is going to be hidden from the user. But I guess the trade-off is, well, who gives a crap? It's $35, right? That's what I think that's kind of the resounding refrain here. You know, it's like, who gives a crap? It's $35. Who gives a crap?
And that's
it's $35.
what he's claiming, is that they did it. They just announced this price point without knowing if they can meet it or caring if they can meet it or not. They were just announcing the price point, and that's what got them all the publicity. It even made the 6 o'clock news here in Australia.
Did it really?
Yeah,
wow.
There was the 6 o'clock news.
If I watch the news, I might see it on
there. Incredible. Here's this, a computer for $25 and, coming up after the ad break, and
and in talking with other people about it, that's what it comes down to too. It's like you and I and a lot of our listeners, we see, okay, $25 or $35 dev board, right? That's cool. I want to try it out. Other people from the outside see it as $35 computer. Boom, done. Computer, right? Then they compare it to the $500 thing that buy off Newegg.
Exactly.
That's the difference. That's why there's a lot of outside interest, right?
There's a lot of publicity, huge publicity
I don't get
all
why
around
it's
the world.
like that. Oh, well, it's $35 computer. That's what people see. Now, what they don't get is they're going to have to run Debian, right? And a lot of people are going to give up at that point. You're not going to be running Windows on this thing.
No, and you're not going to hook a hard drive straight up to it,
right. Right.
Yeah,
and so that's what a lot of people don't get.
I know.
But
we'll
see.
Average Joe just has no idea. So
Joe Six-Pack.
Joe Six-Pack?
Yeah, that was a thing in the U.S. Don't even get me started.
Right, okay.
Yeah, I was talking to a friend today, actually. He had an idea for a product, and we were kind of talking a little bit back and forth, and he's like, "Hon, I really want to sell it for about $10 because I think that's the price that everybody gets into it." And I started working through costs with him about it, and I used Chris Anderson's 2.4 multiplier, right?
Yep.
So I went backwards from there. $10 gets down to about $4.50 there. And then I started working through, and I'm like, well, and if you want it to have RF and microprocessor and stuff like that, maybe you want to use the MSP 430 chip that has the CC 430 has a RF module built in. And I went through all this, and maybe the cost you could get to it. And at the end, I'm like, and so basically for everything except that chip, you're going to have to buy. So the board, the case, and all the passives, you have $2 to buy.
Yep.
And I'm like, well, right there, buddy. I mean, like, you got to sell in million quantities, and you're going to have to guarantee that.
Yep.
And those kind of volumes, you can't. it's God damn, it's hard,
Unless you work at the One Hung Low factory, who churns out the farting novelty toys, you can't do it.
Right? Yeah.
I mean,
it's a volume manufacturing is really, really tough,
and you have to make the big commitment up front, right? I'm going to make 100,000. Because if you're talking 1,000 or 10,000, that's nothing. That's pissant volume, right?
Right.
So,
especially if it's low cost. So if it's 100,000 times 1,000 each, they might talk to you, right?
Oh,
I mean, if it's
exactly.
100,000 times $10 each, that's only $1 million there. So and that's not what the margin they're making, right? So, economics, right? Who would have thunk? I'm always amazed at that. Like, electrical engineering is a very significant chunk once you get into designing stuff, is supply chain and all this stuff that just...
And there's different levels in the market, basically, of where you sit in the pecking order. Apple, and the likes of them right up the top. They command everything.
Asus.
They, they have power to dictate everything. And then there's, layers. There's probably, 4 layers in there, or so 5 layers, or something like that. Right down to the hobbyist, who wants to make 100 boards. That's sort of like the bottom rung.
5 might be kind of generous. I bet it's a couple more layers than that.
I just put 200 boards through a commercial pick and place machine.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Yeah, I did that yesterday. The video's up, by the way, if you want to watch.
Oh yeah, I saw that was just posted right before we started. So I'll have to check that out.
It's very quick good. And very I was there for like an hour, and all my 20 panels went through. If the 200 boards maximum, that included dicking around and tweaking the machine and doing some percussive maintenance, as they call it. Getting the hammer out,
hitting the rammer,
yeah. And it's very quick. Once you have it set up and you run it, it's bam! It's spat it. You'll see in the video, it spits them out so quick. I don't have time to take them off the line. Almost, it's incredible.
Really? Yeah, I get knocked down by the next set of boards coming through.
Each panel takes like 140 seconds or something, and bang, it's through.
Wow.
Yep. I know. It's so quick. But it takes, if you're curious to know how long it takes to set up a machine to do that, just for my simple microcurrent board, right? It's probably about as simple as a board gets, Oh, it can get simpler if you got one part on there, but you know, it's got like a dozen parts, right? It's pretty darn simple. It took somebody all day to set that up.
Really?
Yeah, it took them about, I asked him and he said it took like 6 or 7 hours. It took him a good working day to set it all up, program the machine, do everything, load the reels into the...
I thought you just meant loading the reels, because I guess I've been
setting up the machine and then you've got to do some tests, so you've got to waste some parts, like actually training it to place some of the parts, and so you waste some parts there. And once you train it, once it's all programmed in, you can save it all, and so the next time you can come in and you can insert the reels and you can push the button. But, yep. But even then, like I'm using like 0805 parts, right? Big
right, so
parts
nothing super
in terms
small
of
there.
SMD. Nothing super small, right? A SOT 23 is like the smallest
Your
part.
fiducials don't matter as much and all that other stuff, like the alignment.
Alignment's not a big deal and all sorts of stuff. Yet still, the feeders jam, the tapes on them jam, and they don't like the re-reeled ones I got from DigiKey. He said they're a pain in the ass and they stick, and I've always got to get in there and, these things, everyone thinks you just hit a button and go and you can churn out a million boards. It's nah.
Right.
They require somebody
that's what always
24/7.
surprises me about the homebrew pick and place. Like, I know it's repetitive to solder boards like that, but it just seems like the setup time quickly approaches the amount of time to actually sit there and solder stuff on by hand.
Yeah, it does. Yeah.
So that's why I'm always kind of confused by those, but I love them too. I mean, they're cool, right? They're a cool machine.
That's what we've talked about. There's a very narrow window there of what it makes it viable. Maybe what is it, 50 boards? But if you're doing say 100, it's more viable to go to a manufacturer who's already set up to do that. And yet if you only want 10 boards, well, you may as well just hand solder them. So there's that very narrow window there of where the homebrew pick and place is just not really viable. I would love it to be viable. I would love a cheap pick and place machine to have in my lab. I think that'd be great. But
that would be nice. But how often would you use it then? Because you do have to set it up and everything.
Set it up and it's messy, and you've got to work with the solder paste, and you've got to have reflow ovens, and then you've got to have the fume extraction, and you've got to, I wouldn't be able to do that in the office. Like I could have have the pick and place machine there, but it's not like I can run a.
You gotta wheel it outside on a nice day.
Exactly. Can't
you
exactly
have like an exhaust tube that's like going out the door and then up the stairs and starts leaking into someone's office.
It's just So it's a shame because I'd love. To be able to do. I'd love to have full control over something like that because I've waited forever for these boards. Right?
Oh,
it's
taken
it's been like 2 months. How many months has it been?
2 months at least, right?
Oh, I think so, yeah. I could have had my guy in Melbourne hand assembled 5 batches by now. Mm-hmm. It's crazy. So, anyway, but that's, it can be much quicker. As we talked about Ian from Nonolith the other week, he had it done in like a day or something. But yeah, that's if you're lucky. My one, I didn't have the luxury of that, so I waited 2 months. Whew.
Yep.
Boy.
That'll teach you.
Yep. Boy. And I don't get them until Friday.
Oh, really? You still got to wait, huh?
Yeah, I still got to, because they have to hand assemble. They got to do visual inspection, then they got to hand solder some connectors and things like that. So if you're designing a project out there and you want to make 100 or a couple of hundred of them or 1,000 of them, just try and eliminate all wiring, try and eliminate through-hole parts, just make them pick and place, and bang, they come off the line, and you can put them under your arm and you can take them home. So, yep. If you're going to go surface mount the whole way, and then, and then
that's
it
tough when you get into the
is
mechanical
easy
side of
because
things.
it comes out of the pick and place machine, and then if there's nothing else on it, if it's just the surface mount board, you can put that straight in your case, screw it in, you got the final product.
That's true.
So.
It's tough when you get to like connectors and you get to like if you need switches. I mean, they're making a lot more of that stuff.
Yep.
Surface mount these days. Not even these days. They've been doing it for a while, but I think the there's such a march away from through hole that it's like, well, it's almost you have to work really hard to do the through hole thing. So didn't we have something on here about someone, or did we talk about that already? Someone who's doing that to your board?
No. Oh, yes, yes, they were. Yeah, we talked about that the other week.
It was the other week. Okay,
Yep.
okay, yeah, my bad.
And there's actually something on here about, sorry, got to mention, get your bingo sheets out, Arduino.
Uh-oh.
Mentioned Raspberry Pi, Arduino, open source. Oh, man, it's all happening. Somebody, you put on here that somebody is doing another Arduino clone. It's a Vinci Dino.
Yeah.
As in Leonardo da Vinci?
I think that's the new one is the Leonardo. That's the new Arduino 8-bit.
Hence the Vinci Arduino. Right. Got it. Yeah, right. That makes sense. And apparently they're doing they doing it using huge open like a surface mount parts, so you can assemble it yourself. That's the whole idea.
Yeah. So it's all an educational type kit. So it's like you can learn to
and
SMD solder.
A lot of people have tried to sell Arduino kits and they just don't sell. So
I don't think it's not a money making.
No,
as far as I can tell.
It's probably an educational.
Right. It's all open source and everything else. Yeah. So it's more for I think I'm not sure how you actually get the boards, but I think it's like you can. Source. It's a spin-off of the Arduino. Yeah, it's true. Yeah, good point. I think it's like you can just download the files, order the boards, or someone's going to offer the boards or kits, and then you can just put it together at home. So.
Oh, I can see. Yeah, I see the board now. They've got a 3D prototype. It looks like they're using like big 1206 components or something.
That's a good way to start, man.
Awesome. Yeah, I know.
Yeah,
that's great. Yeah. But they are using a quad.
Corners.
They are using a quad flat pack. So.
Oh yeah. Come on, it's a QFP44.
That's the whole idea, right? Is it surface mount soldering trainer? So, yeah,
that's good. Get out the flux.
Well, you don't need the flux on a new board. You can probably get away with it.
Right.
Yeah, you get away without it. So
it's good for the new kids, Yeah.
But it does help.
Yeah. Speaking of open source hardware, since we probably pissed John off talking about Raspberry Pi, our buddy John Janier over at Adafruit, he hates the Raspberry Pi.
Right.
Or at least me and him talk about it, and he's not a huge fan. They're doing an open source hardware survey, and they wanted people to participate in that. He asked me to talk about that real quick. Just if you are interested in it, or if you use kits, or probably if you just listen to the show because we talk about it so much. If you want to fill out that survey, that would be helpful for them. They were looking for some input on that. So
yep,
it's a good thing to fill out. Get some community feedback. Are they going to post
the final results? I assume they will.
Yeah, I think so. You know, an open source kind of thing might probably be open about it at the end. So
that'll be very. Speaking of which, I subscribe to the open source hardware
the mailing list.
The mailing list, right? I'm sure I think you do too, don't you?
Yeah.
And I keep seeing on there the fact that they keep talking about non-commercial licenses and what's the best
we're not
way
going
to
start this again, Dave.
Yeah, I know, but
not again. I can't take it. I can't take it again.
Anyway, I thought, that's against the whole ethos, and why are they talking about it? Yet they seem obsessed with all these.
I know what you're talking about. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe it's a.
I can't take another discussion about it.
No, neither can I. All right. End of story.
Sorry, I don't mean to be negative about it. It's just, the other week. So,
won't mention another word.
So, what else could we talk about instead of...
Well, we only got 5 minutes left. No, we don't.
Got more time. Remember, we started later. Yeah.
Oh, we started... That's right. We had 7 minutes of fluff at the beginning. Now I'm lost.
I know.
Yep.
I know.
Well, fluff being pre-show fluff.
Right,
we actually hit record and then yapped on for like 7 minutes and then...
Right. Well, here's a bit of fun. Actually, part of Brian Fuller from EE Times, he actually has been driving that Chevy Volt around the country.
Oh, yeah. Has he finished yet?
He's not finished yet. He's been driving a lot. But the cool thing, I really like this a lot, actually. I saw it on designnews.com. They actually did a teardown, and I think they did it again just recently at Design West. But they did a teardown of the Volt.
Cool.
And they did this time-lapse of it, and then they pan over all the boards, and it's just... Holy crap, you've never seen so many Freescale components in your life.
Right.
Which I didn't realize before. Before I started, I've worked with Freescale stuff in the past, and before I started working on it, I really never realized how big Freescale was in the auto segment.
They are like number one in the automotive business. Yeah. They always have been. That's why at one stage, or they might even still be, the number one micro... No, that's... Genesis now are the number one microcontroller but like Freescale's like number 2 or were number 1 or something before Renesas bought NEC. Yeah, Freescale, that's right. Freescale were number 1 in microcontrollers before Renesas bought NEC, and then they became number 1 because just through sheer
that's just
mergers.
a volume. Is that just volume you're talking
It's just
there?
sheer volume because they do the auto car business plus many other stuff. Yeah. But who picks Freescale as the first choice? Nobody, right?
A lot of industrial people do too.
Well, yeah, a lot of the industrial, but in the business we're in, like the hobbyist open source, in this community, everyone's using, PIC or Atmel or or they're using a TI MSP or something like that. But nobody ever picks Freescale, right?
That's another thing, though. Is I think Freescale does a lot of microprocessors as well, though. So that's an important distinction. Another thing that I was very clueless about until finally I sat down and read the Wikipedia page. The difference between a microcontroller and a microprocessor, for those who are analog inclined or clueless like I was, is that the memory is an internal or external. Yep. And I don't know if there's no other differences, right? I mean, that's like the main thing.
Typically the microprocessors don't have internal peripherals like analog to digital converters and stuff like that, which are par for course.
I always think about
micros.
it as like the bus, like the memory bus is all internal.
That's pretty much the major differentiation, but I think you'll find that they don't have a lot of the features built in as well.
Yeah.
So
so that's a big thing too, is that they are built for bigger applications, more memory, displays, all that other crap, so that
you could argue that the 32-bit micros these days are taking that market away, but anyway.
Yeah, and they are converging. And actually, I thought I had an article on here. There was a new chip that's coming out where they're actually co-processing. It was like an ARM core. Oh no, it was from Freescale, I think. Oh man, I have to look for this on the list. Basically, though, it was like Freescale was looking at. They just put a media processor basically in there because they said, "Oh well, we need to do displays, and we can't do that usually. So why not just put in a ARM chip that's meant for displays?" And it's just they just brute force it by. Oh, here it is. Yeah. So basically, it was because the Coldfire line. Coldfire is their main thing, right? That's like their old school microcontroller, microprocessor. And now they said they're just working in an extra ARM core, and they're moving towards ARM anyways, just so they can get all the features that people expect. You walk up to a screen now, and you tap it, and you think, oh, this should zoom in, or you expect that.
You expect it to do fancy shit. Yeah.
Right. Exactly. And if you don't have that in there, and if especially if you have a microcontroller, right, where there's not as much memory, where you need it for those graphic heavy applications, then you start off in a bad place basically. So
I think there's two reasons that the microprocessors are still popular. One, like the Freescale type microprocessors. One is because they come from the old school, right? And because Freescale used to be Motorola, and Motorola used to practically dominate the microprocessor industry back then. Oh, there were other players, Zilog and people like that. But
Zilog, nice.
Motorola were huge, right? Especially in the embedded scene, right? The Motorola
68C08, is that right?
Yep, I think that's correct. Yeah, they were massive, especially in the automotive industry, and they've just kept. They've just kept going. That's what they trust. That's the, that's the manufacturer they trust. They've never obsoleted their parts. They've never been burned. They just keep picking them. And the other thing is that they're so simplistic and they're so well proven, they don't have any bugs in them. Whereas you look at
I'm sure that might be a tall order there.
It's a tall call, but it's not far off the truth, right? Compared to modern microcontrollers where they just simulate them and then go straight to production. And the things are filled with bugs. Look at the errata sheet for any PIC micro or any Atmel micro. It's like 10 pages long, and the ADC doesn't work. Here's a workaround.
Did we say ARM core? We actually paid for an ARB core. We didn't know what that was, but we just we thought it was. We saw that it was cheaper, so it was an ARB core.
And they churn out so many variations and everything. Whereas there's a lot to be said, and especially if you're not making consumer mobile phones or something, you can afford the board space and the luxury of using separate chips for everything, especially if they're if you use a microprocessor, it's well proven. You use a memory, it's well proven. You use a separate ADC and DAC, it's well proven. And, there's a lot to be said for that simplicity. Whereas if you put all your eggs in the one microcontroller basket, those little bugs in there can really, ruin your day.
And you kind of capture it with the obsolescence kind of things too. I mean, like if you're using an ARM core, you don't know if you're using an ARM core from even from Freescale, you don't know if the ARM 9 from this year or what are they on now, 13 or 15? No, ARM's trying to push ARM 17 or whatever's next. So the obsolescence plan is going to be a lot shorter because they are going to consumer kind of applications. So you got to be careful about that kind of stuff.
Right. Sorry, there's knocking going on here. I'm wondering what's going on. You can probably hear
Baby
it in
invasion. That's okay. I had dogs barking here before, so
tad distracted.
Just a regular
professional radio show.
Yeah, regular day in the life of the Amp Hour. That's right, folks. We got bought out, so they get everything.
So if you're still using micro, if you're in the business, tell us about, are you using microcontrollers? Is your company still using microprocessors? Microprocessors.
Right,
Do you still use a big Freescale, still use a 68,000 variant or something like that?
Yeah, and people should definitely check out the video just because these boards they're really gorgeous, and they said there was over 100 micros and 288 batteries in this Volt, and so it's just it is, as Dave would say, it was pornographic. It was very nice.
I remembered one other thing which might be another major reason behind still using these, what are termed legacy devices these days, right? Is because to get something certified in the manufacturing industry, the automotive industry, or the intrinsically safe industry, or in the the aerospace industry or satellite industry.
Oh, that's a big one.
Yeah, you have to. Each line of code has to be certified. Right, and you have to use certified compilers and things like that have been proven at great expense to management that they actually produce reliable code and things like that. And you can't just go and use I'll use the the latest download of the free GPL compiler for Atmel or something like that. No, you will never ever get your product approved, never. And you have to, there's only certain compilers on the market and for certain brands of chips that you're allowed to use. And they ain't cheap, right? And it's not cheap to get them certified. So you actually have to pay somebody to go through line by line and get something certified for military or for automotive or aerospace or something like that. And it can be a massive expense, well beyond, the cost of your part. The cost of your part is irrelevant.
Yep.
So, yeah.
Interesting from that standpoint on the regulation side of things in the at least in the US, I know there was this crazy article on Boing Boing the other day. It was Lawrence Lessig, who's big into he's the Creative Commons. He's into that whole thing, and basically they're saying that these regulations that govern medical devices and intrinsic safety and everything else like that, you have to pay for them in the U.S. You have to pay for ISO standards. You have to pay for IEC standards, and basically they're saying that if this is code, if this is like code that we have to follow, it's the law. And so what they did, though, is they paid for it, they downloaded it, and then they started printing it out. And I'm not sure what their end game with it was, but basically in terms of like the total violation they'd had with the cost of if the fines and everything, it was $273 million worth of paper because there's 50 copies, I think, at $150,000 per infraction. And so, or 25 copies of 73 standards, that's what it was. And it's like, holy moly.
Wow.
So, and they sent them out to, what do they say? They sent them out to standards development organizations, governmental offices, everything else, because you have to pay for them right now, and how can they be law if people don't have them, right?
Yep.
So, I'm not sure. I'm really not sure where they're going to with all this, other than jail, maybe jail.
Right.
But I'm sure a lot of our listeners have dealt with those kind of regulatory agencies and underwriter labs and stuff like that. I mean, UL is a big certification, CSA, UL, ISO, all that other stuff, and people have to deal with it. So it's an interesting article, and we'll have to keep an eye on where it's going because. I hope they don't send Lawrence Lessig to jail.
Right.
Because you did good stuff with the Creative Commons. We like that. So.
Yep, we do.
Yeah.
We've got time for. Oh God, you've got a fancy slogan for it.
No, which one?
For our giveaway.
Oh. No, yeah.
Were you going to use it?
A slogan?
We haven't talked about the troubleshooting.
Troubleshoot trivia. Yeah, I was thinking about this. So we have a giveaway from Freetronics.
We do.
And
Thank you, John at Freetronics and Mark.
John at Freetronics. He's great. He has great walk time blogs that we enjoy.
Why do both of them? Hang on. Why do both of them spell their names wrong? John is Jon, and Mark doesn't spell his name like Mark. Mark, so
well, there are different spellings of names, Dave. I mean,
I know. Sorry, just thought I'd point that out.
Dayve, Dave, or no E on the end. Dayv, Dave Jones.
Yes. Sorry, as somebody who has a boring, plain vanilla name,
boring name.
Boring is bad shit. Yep.
I don't think I'm gonna do this troubleshoot trivia this time.
Woo!
We can just do a regular giveaway this time. I was thinking about the thing I had the question I had thought up, and I was modeling it after like Car Talk does this giveaway where they do the puzzler each week, and I'd like to do something like that, and I'm sure our listeners would like doing something like that. But basically, I ran out of time, and before we started recording today, I'm like, Chris, I don't think your question's right. So
I didn't understand your question.
Yeah, so we'll go over that. We'll come up with something for next week. Yeah. So
and of course,
for this week,
we've been having an argument over this. Chris thinks that we should have some sort of contest to give away. Some sort of trivia quiz or something like that, and you have to answer it, and you've got to, and then your name goes into the hat if you answer it correctly to win the prize. I think we should just put everyone's name in a hat, every listener, and
here is my other idea, and I think we should do this week. Tell us of your favorite, most obscure chip, so we can fill up a hopper with potential chips of the week for the future. So if you email us at theamphour@gmail.com. Email us your favorite chip. Try and make it obscure. Maybe try and trick us. Any chip is okay though. You'll still go into the drawing regardless. But try and find us a chip that we haven't talked about and you think is awesome. And if so, we'll definitely mention you when if it does become a chip of the week. So
you're trading a free board for content.
Free content. Yeah, that's right. I'm one of them, Dave. Yeah,
that's almost rather clever.
As my wife calls it when I'm when I'm going against something I've said previously, I'm being hypocrite.
Hypocrite.
Yeah.
Good T-shirt.
Yeah, not bad, huh?
Hypocrite.
So, anyways, email us at theamphour@gmail.com. Try and have in the title somewhere contests, and then tell us your favorite obscure chip in the body of the email, and we'll put your name in the hat, and we'll be drawing for an Ether Mega Board valued at $99 from Freetronics.com.
And how do we pick it?
No, randomly. We'll use like a randomizer site.
Right. Okay. Cool.
All right.
Why couldn't we get amphour@gmail.com? We had to put the in front, did we?
Well, that's the name of the show, Dave, is The Amp Hour.
Yeah, I know, but
we probably could.
Is Amp Hour available? Just Amp Hour?
I don't know. I'll have to check that now before we air the show.
Somebody's going to know.
Thanks a lot, Dave.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. All right, so chip of the week. Let's actually do chip of the week because I found a cool chip this week.
Oh, okay. Even though we're over time. All right.
Who cares? Come on.
Yeah.
So ST Micro, big company, right? Big French and German, I think, chip company. They have a new product that I heard about, a wireless EEPROM. Have you ever seen this before?
No, I haven't.
Yeah, it's a near field controlled EEPROM basically. So you have to put a PCB antenna on board, but then what you can do is you can hold up an RF programmer. Basically, it'd be a near field communicator chip that you can then program this EEPROM wirelessly. So if you had a board that was inside, it was sealed inside,
you wouldn't
epoxy,
have to open the product, right?
Exactly. So
you can assemble the thing, you can fully assemble your product, and then wirelessly program it, even through the box, perhaps, even after it's finally packaged.
Exactly. Yeah, and it's like a passive. I think it's passive. It might be active actually. I'll have to double check on that. But yeah, you can program 2K, 4K, 8K of EEPROM, and then you can use that in your system, right? Dave's wheels are already turning inside his head. He's got a hamster.
Well, it's an I2C interface. I rather like this. This is a good find, Chris.
Thank you.
I'm impressed.
Thank you. I did not find it on my own.
Right.
I will not take credit because I won't be taking credit for all the listeners' submissions in the near future.
This is, I rather like it. I'm now very curious to know, is it passive or does it have to have some sort of active power there when it's powered
you need power.
up?
I think you need power.
So you need at least standby system power.
Yeah, system power, but not necessarily.
Does it take like microamps or something to...
Oh, man, I have to ask me the details, huh?
Devil's in the detail, dude.
Yeah, I know.
Where's the data sheet?
Yeah. I don't know.
Oh, God.
Dave, come on, man. Maybe this is just an announcement. Oh, I hope this isn't just an announcement. I'd get in trouble for that one, huh? Resources. There it is.
Press. Oh, because we're in contest. Press. Log in. What is it, a vaporware?
No, it's not vaporware. I was told by a vendor. Okay, I said it. I was told by a vendor. Here we go.
You believe vendors. Here we go.
I do. It's right here. It's M24LR64-R.
Or there's 4K version 16K. Oh, okay. Now I've got the data sheet side.
Yeah,
data sheet. Here we go.
Sheet.
This is real fun on radio, opening
I
data
know, right?
sheets
Yeah,
in
we
real
should
time.
probably cut all this stuff out, huh?
And it's let's have a look at the banner specs.
What's that?
Let's have a look at the top-level banner specs on the main page. It
banner
operates from 1.8 volts to 5.5.
Not bad.
13.5 megahertz contactless carrier, at plus minus 7 kilohertz carrier frequency.
So pretty standard.
Uses ASK modulation. Blah blah blah
Takes,
blah blah.
5.75 milliseconds to write to the memory.
It's got a 64-bit unique identifier, so your product gets...
I like those.
Oh, I love those. I love having like a unique identifier. It's
like a MAC address, really.
Code. Yeah, it's a unique serial code.
Yeah. Which is useful because then you don't need to have like a serial number on your case and you don't need to program it.
It's great. At Altium, when we designed all of our development boards, each board had a unique laser, etched ID chip in it, and it was all tied in so that we can track that board, who it was sold to, when it was tested, when it was manufactured, and we keep all this big database of very nice.
Yeah.
It was a very nice system. And it doesn't really tell you...
Yeah, sorry about that. But we can let our listeners figure that out.
And I love the more than 40 years data retention.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, they've all tested that one in an oven.
Right?
Yeah. Good old Arrhenius
that
equation, right?
Yeah.
It's like...
Yeah. They've done life acceleration test on that to try and prove it, but, No,
Arrhenius.
It doesn't tell you. Does it tell you that if you have to have it powered up?
I'm guessing you do. I mean, it's an active chip,
Yeah, I think so.
Because otherwise, you'd have to do it. Basically, the way passive stuff works, right, is you power it with your RF signal, and then you use some of that to reflect it back.
And
if you had to then power and then write to a static memory, that would take quite a bit of juice.
It takes a bit of juice. Yeah, it takes a bit of pulse current there to write the E squared problem. So
right.
Yeah. It's not a trivial thing to do.
Well, speaking of wireless, I wanted to do a This Day in Nerd History real quick, too, because this was kind of fun. Today, in 1973, the first portable phone call was placed by Martin Cooper of Motorola, who we were talking about earlier.
Yep.
Yeah. The phone was 10 inches by 3 inches by 1.5 inches wide, and there's a picture of him on Wikipedia. It's great. It's like, it's like the old brick phone, but
and he says that, I love this. He says it only had a 20-minute battery life or something, but he said, well, that was fine because you couldn't hold it up to your ear for more than 20 minutes anyway. It was so heavy.
A true brick, yeah, the Dynatac, true brick.
Great, brilliant.
Yep.
Well, there's our. That's what we design around. They're our specs. Well, you can't hold it. You can't physically hold it up for more than 20 minutes, so the battery only has to last for 20.
Right. I can only get 20 minutes out of the battery, so, I added 4 pounds.
Oh, brilliant.
Yep.
What say they were... maybe they deliberately added weight,
I don't know.
Just so that... I know that IBM did back in the early days. They used to add weight to the keyboard. Here's a bit of trivia for you. The very first IBM PC keyboard, we're talking 1981 here, they actually included like a metal plate in there to weigh it down, to actually give it that hefty feel and to stop it sliding around on the desk. There was, a bit of method to their madness there.
Right, yeah, and the big clunky keys that had that great tactile feeling to them.
Yeah, exactly. And they would put a metal plate in to weigh it down.
That's nice.
Yep, nice attention to detail. I like it. Whereas, the cheapest shit ones these days, they, piece of plastic and they just flap around this. Yeah. Not
built
built
duct
to
tape
last.
them down, Dave. Duct tape them down.
Duct tape. Oh, boy.
All right, so people can find us on Twitter at The Amp Hour. You can email us at theamphour@gmail.com, which you should do for our contest this week. You can find us on Google+, on Facebook, and lots of other places, except on Tested.com.
Yeah, sorry about that.
All right, Dave, talk to you next week.
Okay, bye. My idea, maybe I should talk about it on the show.
If
or
you
maybe
want.
it's so good that I shouldn't. Well, I'll tell you.
Ideas are like assholes, Dave.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, everyone's got one.